model at the National Land Trust Rally Conference out in Colorado. And before we started, looked out in the audience, and there was Mark Anderson, who's the Nature Conservancy's chief ecologist, who kind of came up with this whole resilience strategy. And so we were like, God. It's like we're giving a concert at Mozart. Okay, so now what I need to know is orient me to how to. So, as a conservation project guy, I get to be, I'm the beneficiary of this incredible model for looking at what to conserve here in the Hudson Valley. And this is another iteration of it where everything that's in purple represents highly resilient landscapes. Everything that is in blue, I'm sorry, the blue is resilient. The pink or reddish is kind of multi-objective, and then the purple is where you have an overlap of connectivity, climate resilience, and biodiversity. And so you really start to see some patterns. I'm kind of intrigued by this northeast to southwest running contiguous forest, which is running through Columbia and Dutchess counties. Obviously, Sullivan County is quite rich. The Rensselaer Plateau, the Black Creek Corridor, eastern Dutchess and Columbia counties, where there's a lot of great rich farmland. It's very intriguing. And here in the Mid-Hudson, this is Ulster County, you can kind of see some patterns. Obviously, the Black Creek Corridor, Marlborough Mountain Chain, lands around the Gums, some connectivity between the Hudson River Corridor and the Gums and the Catskills here. Further north, a connectivity between the Hudson and up in Greene County with the Catskills. And it's just really intriguing to see what jumps out. And I want to re-emphasize something Nava said. This is not to say that if you might be looking at this map and just see white space where your important project is. This is not passing judgment on the biodiversity values of that property. It's just we're trying to build an 11-county network here of resilient land. So you could run it a different way with different factors in it, and other parcels would pop up. So it's just really one way of looking at conservation values. So what we did was we sort of drew circles around areas that we think are pretty compelling for us to work in. And you can see them here. I won't belabor it, but there's potential linkages between the Taconics and the Catskills, the Rondout Valley watershed, obviously the ridges along the Hudson in Ulster and Orange counties, the Wallkill River watershed down into Orange County. Just some really intriguing patterns we need to emerge here that is starting to inform our conservation work. And so here's just some examples of projects that we've conserved with the support of the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation. This is up in Greene County. This is called Bronk Island. It's not an island anymore. But when the Corps of Engineers, it's a very shallow part of the Hudson, they dredged massive amounts of sediment out of the Hudson for shipping, and they backfilled back in here. So that's an area, Nava was talking about climate, tidal wetland pathways. This is an area that our model shows being a prime tidal wetland pathway because it's very uniform, low-lying sediments from the Hudson River bottom that with sea level rise are going to flood. And so what we want to try to do is let nature take its course, let tidal wetlands move upland and inland to create more tidal wetlands and have a viable, functioning ecosystem. So we were able to purchase a conservation easement on this property with support from the Doris Duke Fund. And this is what you see here, as Nava said, in brown is protected land, so there's already a lot of protected lands nearby. And then the green represents 10-acre hexagons that were off the charts. In this case, they had 100% irreplaceability based on the model, so we knew we were in good shape there. You can see there's a lot of other resilient lands in the neighborhood. So it's not just about looking at the model. The model doesn't tell you what to do. It just tells you, basically how irreplaceable a particular parcel is, and knowing how much conservation potential and also accomplishments were in that area, we thought this was a good bet to conserve. And this is what it looks like. So you have a lot of Hudson River frontage. There's bald eagle nesting areas, and you see these areas here. This is the dredge fill. This was the island, and this is now connecting it to the mainland. So because of the topographic variety, because of the geologic variety, and the tidal wetland pathways, it was considered highly resilient by the model. This is the mouth of Black Creek here in Ulster County. Again, a highly resilient landscape with varied topography. You've got the floodplain of the Black Creek, the mouth of the Black Creek. You have a plateau in the middle with an orchard on it, steep bluffs along the Hudson, and great connectivity, freshwater connectivity for the rest of the Black Creek. You can see on the left there, all the purple heading down through all that protected land, including the Black Creek State Forest that DEC owns, and other lands that scenic Hudson and others have protected. And there's the mouth of the Black Creek. Up in the town of Catskill in Greene County, this is part of Ramshorn Marsh, which is the largest tidal and freshwater swamp forest on the Hudson. And scenic Hudson and New York Audubon have conserved about 500 acres of the swamp. It's now Ramshorn Livingston Sanctuary, a great place for bird watching, paddling, hiking, nature study. And we have an opportunity to conserve this property, which is, again, a huge tidal wetland pathway. There's a knoll here. This is all wetlands, and this area is primed to be inundated as the river level rises. And we didn't want somebody to build their McMansion on the high knoll and then do everything possible, because you know that's what people would do, to protect their investment by armor plating it, keeping the river from rising onto their property. So basically, we added to the Ramshorn Sanctuary. This will likely be an island in the next 100 years. That's okay with us. It's part of, creating a more resilient landscape here in the Hudson and not creating riprap and culverts as far as the eye can see. So again, 100% irreplaceability, and it's intriguing to note that there's this potential corridor from here on the Hudson all the way to the foothills of the Catskills. That's all resilient, identified by the model as resilient landscapes. Unfortunately, it's very parcelized, and that is obviously frustrating. There's like one 300-acre parcel out there that would just be the keystone, but it's not the case here, but we're continuing to look at that area as well. And there's an aerial view of the property along Ramshorn Marsh. This is one of the farms that we're working to conserve with partnership with the Duchess Land Conservancy. I see they're here today, and along with New York State funding and funding from the town of Red Hook. So the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation is putting in funds for this. This is a highly resilient farm. This is showing it at the parcel level. So you have this model does 10-acre hexagons and tax parcels. So we run it both ways so we can really get a sense of what's happening, because biodiversity and resilience just doesn't follow tax parcel lines as much as we try to force it to. But in this case, the whole parcel was highly resilient. You can see it links to a lot of other productive farmland, and both conserved and not conserved, and it's in watershed of 2 streams that feed into Tivoli Bays. So we think this is going to be a win-win, both for farmland conservation and for climate resilience. And there's the farm. So one of the things that we're doing that the Duke Foundation is very excited about, and so are we, is to push this model out. We don't want to just sit in our offices in Poughkeepsie and come up with good conservation projects. We really want it to be adopted by others and be useful for others. So the strategy, there's an interactive report that's online. Both the PDF is there online, and also we have a story map at that website if you are interested. We also have copies, I think, of the summary that we have out on our table. The head's right there. And so it's on our website under Hudson Valley Conservation Strategy. You can put that in the search browser. We also are creating by sort of, it's password protected, so we have to know you, basically, because there's tax parcel information, landowner information on there. But if land trusts or other practitioners are interested, we can give you the password and you can log on and use this HVCS model as a decision support tool for making your own conservation decisions. And it's all just basically your password, and you can drill down as closely as you want. And every parcel, it's going back up to Catskill, every parcel has a ranking. So this is the parcel that I just showed you up at Ramshorn. 100% irreplaceability for climate resilience, 73% for landscape connectivity. Doesn't show up for biodiversity, but there's sometimes quirks in the model that just it's hard to figure, but highly ranked in many other respects. And you can add them to your own. You can download it to your own ArcMap document, put in lots of layers, look at connectivity values, look at the sea level rise, tidal wetland migration, potential pathways, and that's just buffering out from the rare and threatened species, I believe. So that's really, in a nutshell, the strategy. We're happy to take questions, and also one thing we've been doing is we've been going around the valley. We've done 3 trainings for land trusts where our GIS manager, who really was one of the chief architects of this, will work with land trust practitioners. A lot of you who work with land trusts and some others have been in the room for those where you have your own laptops logging on and navigating around the model. So we don't see this as replacing individual conservation strategies, either for Ulster County or for individual land trusts. We see it as additive, and if we can be helpful, we're hoping we can join the support of the Doris Duke Foundation. They have given us a capital grant to protect land. We're about halfway through that, but we're looking for good projects, and we hope to generate more of this kind of conservation project work in the future, thanks to the thinking that went into this model. So, thank you.